Hello, friends, and welcome back to NFC BEAST. This, the only show that tackles the topics that mean the most to your fan base in the NFC East, and bringing it to you are four insiders. In New York, we got my main man, Lou Albanese, in the building. In Dallas, Sam Gannon covering the Cowboys. And in Philadelphia, Breland Moore is on the team as well. We're going to kick off today's show talking about those Philadelphia Eagles, and more specifically, speaking about the Tush Push. Stop me if you've heard this story before. Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs by a final score of 20-17, scoring one of their touchdowns. Some would say the decisive touchdown on the Tush Push. Were also successful with the Tush Push at other points in time in the game, leading to more outrage over this. Breland, people are saying that not only can teams not stop the Tush Push, but that officials can't even officiate it correctly. Is this outrage warranted over the Tush Push?
No, it's so dumb, and I'm so tired of hearing about it, because have you noticed the goalposts are moving? First it was an unsafe play. Then when there was no evidence that it's an unsafe play, now the goalposts are moving that it's not officiated correctly. They are going to pick and prod at this play because it is so effective. You know, not everybody can run it, but those who can run it, sometimes they are not as good at it as the Eagles are. I mean, it's just credit to their offensive line and what they're able to do. Now it's, oh, they're in the neutral zone. Okay, well, every Chiefs defender was also in the neutral zone. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. You know what? If it bothers you so much, either ban it or get defensive linemen who can stop it. I'm tired of hearing everybody complain around the league.
Breland, I had a feeling that would be your response to this. So, Lou,
it's ridiculous.
I'm coming to you here, Lou. Now, the vote did go down this past offseason. I believe that there needed to be 24 teams that voted to have it banned. I believe that 22 teams did vote to have it banned. I'm from an era in watching the NFL in which you weren't allowed to push a player on the offense into the end zone. Do you have a problem with the Tush Push, or is this just sour grapes by the league?
Both. But here's the deal. You're right. It was against the rules for years. I don't know when it changed, but it was against the rules forever. Look, I have no problem. There's no way of stopping it. And I think the greatest part about this whole Tush Push is the fact that it's sponsored by Dude Wipes. So to me, anything that you can make money off of is worthwhile.
I love that. Sam, had you asked me about this a year ago, I would have said, look, if you want to stop it, go ahead and stop it. I mean, the Washington Commanders, we saw in that NFC Championship game, attempting to stop it time in and time out. Frankie Louvu jumping over the pile, threatening that a touchdown would be awarded. I had never heard that before either. But now, though, I think I'm feeling the other way. I think that since this is bigger than just the Philadelphia Eagles, if I had a vote this offseason, I would ban it. What do you say?
You know, I don't know that I would necessarily ban it, but I think that, you know, it is problematic for the refs because it is difficult to call, right? And the clamoring that you're hearing from fans is probably coming from fans of teams other than the Eagles because to Breland's point, you know, the Eagles have converted over 96% in 4th and 1 scenarios. So I understand why fans are upset by it, but the fact of the matter is the refs are going to miss calls. It happens every single week in every single game. So I do think a bigger deal is being made of this than it should be. So we'll see what the next thing that pops up is.
Hey, Breland, we'll get you out of here on this, and I'll give you the final word. Can you at least see where other individuals are coming from in relation to this, especially the whole pushing the player forward piece?
No, I don't because this is the new thing now, right? Last year it was all about injury, and everyone, that was the narrative, the injury aspect of it, even though again no proven injuries on that. And the teams that were consistently giving evidence of it's a dangerous play, they're the teams that ran it the most. Looking at you, Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills. But so now it's this whole big thing. People are just going to keep finding new ways to criticize this play. Go touch grass.
And shout out to Jason Kelsey for being sure that he was in those meetings advocating for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially as it comes to that whole injury piece that you speak of there. All right, we will move forward now. And what's a little controversy without talking about Tom Brady? Tom Brady, of course, now the big-time Fox analyst in their play-by-play set, also a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. News kind of came out this week that there is some conversation in regard to Tom Brady potentially sharing information, potentially, that he has access to during broadcasts with his coaches, Chip Kelly, namely. Now, this especially hits home with us here because the Las Vegas Raiders play each of the NFC East teams. Now, the NFL said that there was no issue with this, that Brady is not sharing this information, and the Raiders said, hey, he's Tom. We talked to him, but not about the things that he might learn here. I want to come to you first, Lou. Do you have an issue with this duality that Tom Brady is serving?
No, and I'll say most of the information he learns is like really game-wise. So unless he's learning it and then going to the Raiders the next day, and that has to be shut down. Right away, he has to be shut down. I mean, that's the problem. I'm just wondering, until you have proof that he is actually taking this information on Saturdays and Sundays and doing game plans with the Raiders, I don't have a problem. If they have proof that he's involved with game planning, then that's a big problem, especially after the meetings with the opposing coaches.
And, Sam, that's what it is that the Raiders, again, that Pete Carroll is saying. He's like, look, man, like we're talking, but it's not about these things. And to kind of further that point, Brady is not allowed to be at the team's facilities. He can only do the interviews via Zoom, so he can't physically be there. For me, though, I'm still kind of bothered by this, especially since the Commanders are playing the Raiders this week. What do you say?
I mean, yeah, when you're looking on it from the outside looking in, one would say it is a little bit of a conflict of interest, because if it was someone other than Tom Brady, would we be having this kind of conversation? What would be the main point of it? But I will say this, it's not on Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady's living his best life, and all the respect in the world to him. You know, he gets to broadcast games, and he also gets to be a minority owner. This is on the NFL. The NFL is the one that approved him minority ownership, so that's on them. And I don't think they're going to come out and say now that they made a mistake. Yeah. So it is what it is. I agree with Lou. If there is absolute proof of it, then that's one thing, but that's not the case so far.
That's kind of where I was going with it as well, with the NFL having approved this. The last thing that they want to do, especially this early into the massive contract that he has, is to say that they were wrong with allowing this access. Breland, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I think there's no definitive proof yet, but it is a bad look, right, to have that conflict of interest quite literally broadcast to the whole world. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those things we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But also, I mean, not for nothing, I feel like there's a lot of shady things that we don't necessarily know about that goes on within the league. This is just one that just so happens to be kind of playing out in public. So until they can have definitive proof, it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, and I want to close this conversation on this, right? And this is not to in any means besmirch the character of one Tom Brady and or that Las Vegas Raiders organization. However, when it comes to athletics, especially at this level, there's an old adage that says if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And that means that you attempt to get every competitive advantage that you possibly can. So you mean to tell me that Tom Brady is a minority owner, that he gets even the smallest modicum of information? He's having conversations with Chip Kelly, and he's on Boy Scouts honor, that he's not sharing any of it? I don't believe that. You know, call me naive, call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard for me to believe that he's sharing none of the information that he receives during the week when he has these meetings. Who wants to tell me I'm wrong? All right, then. We'll move on. We'll move on. The Washington Commanders, the team that I cover here in the DMV. Tough game with the Green Bay Packers last week, not only getting beat, but getting beat up in Lambeau Field, losing by a final score of 27-18. Not only that, but a ton of injuries on the field as well. Jaden Daniels with a bit of a knee. Austin Eckler out for the season. Dietrich Wise, a huge addition to this defense, also gone for the season. My question here, the Commanders come in with, by some accounts, Super Bowl aspirations. Sam, were the Commanders exposed in Green Bay?
I mean, guys, I think it's still early in the season, but if you look back at this game, there were a lot of self-inflicted wounds by the Commanders. You had those 2 missed field goals that would have made it a 1-possession game. Jaden Daniels didn't score a touchdown until those pair of scores in the fourth quarter. You know, the Packers defense was really good, sacked him 4 times. Micah had half a sack in that game. So it's a little too early for me to say they were exposed, but there are issues that have to be addressed. That being said, too, I think the Packers arguably could be the best team in the NFC. So they were playing a tough opponent, tough game, but they're going to have to bounce back, and we'll see what the health of Jaden Daniels is.
Lou, the Commanders knocked off the Giants 21-6 in Week 1. They look like a far inferior team when playing the Packers. Did you learn something about the Burgundy and Gold?
Yeah, I learned the Packers are better than the Giants. Listen, they're an old team on their defense. That's the problem. The Giants had many an opportunity to go in that end zone, and they couldn't score in the red zone. The Commanders have problems on defense, and I think it's age-related,
Sure.
and that's going to be something that's going to be a problem all year long. That's my biggest concern about the Commanders.
You look at that age, you're talking about a Bobby Wagner who's in his mid-30s. You're speaking about a number 24 out there, pass rusher, who is 36 years old as the season begins. So a difficult time for that defense. I'm going to say that this did expose the Commanders. And again, this is for those Washington Commanders fans and those analysts who believe that this team was ready to win a Super Bowl this year. If you look at this roster construction in an honest way, you would say that they probably were still a year away. Breland, that doesn't mean that they're not going to beat the Eagles twice at the end of the season, but we'll talk about that later on. So this game right here kind of shows that maybe they're not the team that should be favored. I said at the beginning of the year that they would go 10-7. I think that that's still kind of in line with where they will be. Breland, what do you say?
Yeah, I think everyone made really great points, and I agree with every single one of them, in the defense and whatnot, the self-inflicted wounds. That being said, I think this is to be expected. Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal rookie season, but part of that is because there wasn't a lot of tape on him. Defenses respond, defenses catch up, and so I think this is just kind of the NFL responding to what he's able to do, and it's a natural thing to take maybe a little bit of a step back. I don't necessarily know that that's meaning they're exposed per se, but I think this is, a little stumbling is to be expected when now you have an entire year of tape on a quarterback and an offense.
The final NFC East game of week number 2 was a surprising thriller. A lot of people thought that it would be a snoozer, but the Dallas Cowboys knock off the New York Giants 40-37 in overtime. It was a game in which we saw Russell Wilson hit the throwback machine, throwing like he was back in Wisconsin days, not even in Seattle. Dallas, though, Dak Prescott ultimately leads this team to a victory, got arguably the best kicker to ever play the game. So, Sam, as you're watching that, the Giants had very little expectations. The Cowboys had a few more. Was this a more impressive victory for the Cowboys or a more impressive defeat for the Giants?
It wasn't impressive for either team. It was impressive for the kicker, Brandon Aubrey, because one thing we can definitively say about Dallas is that they do not have a kicking problem. Thank goodness they have Brandon Aubrey on their side. And he's a local guy as well. He's from Plano. And, people know his story by now. He was a soccer guy. And I will say this, there was one point in the game where I'm like, oh, the Cowboys are going to lose this. Because I've just seen so many games that the Cowboys have blown because of self-inflicted wounds. So this was a game Dallas had to have. There are not many teams, guys, that have gone down 0-2 in a season and gone on to win the playoffs. You have to take care of your home turf. First win for Coach Shoddy as an NFL head coach. So I was impressed that they were able to, pull a victory out, I guess, and win at home because they weren't good at home at all last year. I did think Dak Prescott through 2 games, even in that loss to the Eagles, I think he's looked the best that he's looked in a really long time.
Lou, a week ago we were talking about Russell Wilson being completely cooked. Get him out of here, get the rookie in. He throws for 450, bro. Was this not a good loss for the Giants?
Well, there's no such thing as a good loss, but I will say this. That was shocking. It might have been the most enjoyable Giants game since the Super Bowl when they beat the Patriots. I mean, they had played. That game was up and down. But when you hit Neighbors on that touchdown pass with 25 seconds left, you can't lose that game. Yeah. And they found a way to lose. I don't care if the guy kicked it from 50 more yards, 85 yards. You can't lose that game. And only the Giants can lose that game. So, no, it's not an enjoyable loss. It was not. But it was a fun game to watch. And then, of course, like everything else, the Giants lose.
And Breland, again, from sitting on that high hill that the Eagles perched themselves upon, you're watching this game. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts were Brandon Aubrey is my fantasy team kicker, and so I was having myself a day. He was putting up receiver numbers, so I was so excited about that. But I think it was just enjoyable to just sit back and watch because you really both teams had so many, as Sam mentioned, self-inflicted wounds that you're just kind of watching to see what in the world would happen. And it was exciting to watch from just the perspective of this is a divisional game. This is interesting to me, but I don't necessarily care who wins. Sure. And to see that Neighbors touchdown, you thought, oh, yeah, they've got it in the bag. And sure enough, they absolutely found a way to lose that. And so, but also Russell Wilson, 450 yards is insane. He looked like he was not 1,000 years old, like we all know he is. So, I mean, all around, I think it was kind of an entertaining hot mess, but a fun one, at least.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It makes our show that more and more interesting.
Yeah.
I hope that there are more NFC East matchups like that one. And coming up in just a moment, we will talk about more of that as well as take a look ahead at Week 3's matchups from right here in the NFC East. It's NFC Beast. Go Birds, and welcome back to NFC Beast. Check this out. The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0. Not many people are surprised by that feat, but through 2 games, Jalen Hurts has thrown for a total of 253 yards and 0 touchdowns. So, Breland, bringing this one to you, I know how much you love this question. Are the Eagles being hurt by Jalen Hurts?
I think a lot of people nationally are forgetting that Jalen Hurts is working with yet another new offensive coordinator. This is the 4th or 5th one he's had now in his tenure of being a starter here. So it's basically every single year he's getting someone new. The only carryover he ever had, I believe, was Shane Steichen in his early years of starting there. But beyond that, this is just a continuous work in progress here with this team. I'm not surprised that the offense isn't as explosive and it has looked a little vanilla these past 2 weeks. I expect that to fully change throughout the course of this, early season, September, October here, and they'll really get going. But give Kevin Patullo just a little bit of time to cook with his pieces here, guys.
Sam, if last week is any indication, the Dallas Cowboys are not the strongest squad in that secondary. Does this give Dallas fans any more hope?
I mean, the thing is, I would feel pretty confident with Jalen Hurts as my quarterback, and I'll be concerned when the Eagles start going on a losing streak. Right now, they're 2-0, coming off a Super Bowl. Hurts is reigning Super Bowl MVP, right? And I love that exchange between Hurts and Chris Jones at the end of that game where Hurts was just like, bro, we won the game. And in the end, it matters how many wins you have in that win column. And they're 2-0 right now, like Breland said. Give it some time, but if I'm an Eagles fan right now, I'm not concerned.
And Lou, I guess that is the point. The point is to win the game. 2-0 this season, Super Bowl champions. He's gotten it done when the games were the biggest, where the lights were the brightest. What do you say about Hurts?
We say the same thing I always say. He's a winner. He wins, he wins, he wins. It's not about yards. It's not about what you put up. I think the Giants would take Jalen Hurts over Russell Wilson tomorrow with all the yards that Wilson ran for. The bottom line is this. When you're a great team like the Eagles, everyone's always nitpicking. Okay, the offense is weak. Faggio's talking about Jalen Carter there, whatever his name is. He's fat. Everybody's fat. Guess what? I like to have a fat guy in the middle of my defense. I mean, what are we talking about here? They're always looking to nitpick. They're the best team in football. Stop. Who cares how you win? The name of the game is to win. Although I still hate that coach.
I've never seen this much love between Philly and New York here. You know, we may have to throw a penalty flag on this. So I'll bring it back down 95 South here, back down here to the nation's capital. Jaden Daniels, again, suffered that knee injury against the Packers. He had an MRI after the game. Today, Jaden Daniels did not practice. We heard from head coach Dan Quinn. He said that he will be reevaluated on Friday, but that he will not feel comfortable with Jaden Daniels playing on Sunday if he does not at least hit all of the markers as well as practice with the team. So, Breland, should Jaden Daniels play on Sunday? If he's medically cleared, should he play?
Yes, absolutely. If he's medically cleared and he hits those markers, absolutely. That is your franchise guy, and he needs to be in there at all times. You don't think guys like Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts Joe Burrow's a really bad example right now, so I won't turn to him. But these franchise guys are always playing through things. If the trainers and the medical staff say you can be out there, you better be out there.
Sam, Dak has had injuries. What do you say?
Mm-hmm. You know, I know Dan Quinn said we want to make sure he can, quote, absolutely be himself. And if he's very close to absolutely being himself, then I think you play him on Sunday because the team they're facing, they're both 1-1 on the season. And as Breland said, guys battle through injuries. That's just a name of the game, too. But if there is something a little bit more concerning as things progress throughout the week, then I don't think you risk it simply because it's so early in the season. And that is your guy. That's your franchise guy for the future. So that's what I think.
I'm going to tell you guys what, here in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, we had a quarterback here that all of the fan base was super excited for years ago, a quarterback that set the NFL world on fire, that looked like he was the next big thing. His name was RG3. You might remember that name. He had a knee injury, came back too early, and ended up essentially ending his entire career. Jaden Daniels will not play until the team feels as though that leg injury is close to 100%, because they do not want for history to repeat itself right here in the nation's capital. Lou, what do you say?
I agree with that. He's too important. You know, I know football players play through injuries and all that, but it's week 3. You have to be careful with him, because if he goes down, the season goes down. If it means 1 week or 2 weeks, let him take the 2 weeks. It's more important than him going down for the season. I would hold him back unless I know he's 100%. I would.
And beyond that, Marcus Mariota came in spot duty for the Washington Commanders last year, led them to 2 to 3 victories, one starting against the Titans, 2 other ones he came into the game. So that is what I say as well. All right, coming up, we are going to pick winners for the games this weekend. That's next. You're watching NFC Beast. All right, welcome back to NFC Beast. It is now time to pick some winners for our teams that we cover right here in the NFC East. Lou, we will start with the New York Giants, 0-2 Giants, 0-2 Chiefs. These teams need this victory. Who walks away with it?
Well, first of all, if you look at the standings right now in the paper, it says 0-3 for the Giants, because the NFL is not going to let the Chiefs lose. The referees are going to make sure of it. The conspiracy theories are in. They can pay 5 guys, the Chiefs, and they're going to win the game, okay? So it's already 0-3. Brian Dable will start working on next week.
Breland, I'm actually leaning towards the Giants here. I believe that their defense will be able to neutralize the limited Chiefs offense, and they'll be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Who wins this game?
That would be the funniest thing in the whole wide world. I would love for the Giants to win this game. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a rivalry that might be starting to creep up in terms of NFC East rivalries, and that's the rivalry between the Eagles and the Chiefs. This fan base is unbearable to deal with. I'm so serious. And it would just be the most hilarious thing for them to go 0-3. That being said, yes, the Chiefs look old. The wide receiver core is banged up. They just absolutely did not come with it last week. That being said, Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, and you saw that he does still have that mobility. I mean, goodness, even with the lackluster offense, he was still doing Patrick Mahomes things against the Birds. So I'm going to go Kansas City here. But, man, if the Giants could do it, that would rule.
Telling you all, Brian Burns, a couple of sacks on Sunday. We'll come back and talk about it. All right, moving on to Dallas. They are taking on Chicago. Talk about a team in need of a victory. Caleb Williams on the hot seat, to say the least. Sam Gannon, who wins this game and why?
I think the Cowboys are taking this one, guys. And I look at this offense. I think Dak Prescott is going to have to win a lot of games. The Dak Prescott in this offense is going to have to win a lot of games for the Cowboys, simply because the defense right now is a mess, especially that secondary, but I don't think the Bears are good. I think Dak and this offense right now are humming. As I said before, I think this is the most comfortable and maybe confident he's looked in a long time. You know, George Pickens, more involved. I think he's a playmaker. And on the defensive side, we'll see if cornerback Deron Bland plays. Jerry Jones says there's a possibility. And let's not forget, guys, they also signed a veteran defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney. He may or may not be active on Sunday. We'll see how much juice he's got if he is active on Sunday, but give me the Cowboys this Sunday against Chicago.
And now one of the biggest games of the weekend. You're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Rams in this one. Breland, this could be a late postseason prequel to what could go down in the postseason. Who wins this one?
Yeah, this was arguably one of the best postseason games that the Eagles had. Everything else kind of went a little lopsided here, but this was the closest one that they had.
Uncalled for, Breland.
Yeah, it sure was. How was that NFC Championship, Chad? Anyway, so this, I think, is going to be a great rematch here. Two of the best receiver, duos that you can possibly see in the NFL. The Eagles are really going to have to bring it. However, I'm going to go with the Birds until the wheels come off.
Not surprising. Lou, Philly versus the Rams.
Close game. I got to go with the Eagles, but I tell you, that Rams team's legit, and this might be their toughest game all year.
All right, and I agree with you all there. I say that Philly wins that game as well. The final game of the Washington Commanders taking on the Raiders. These two teams 1-1, each coming off of losses. Sam, who wins?
Well, I think it's all contingent upon whether or not Jaden Daniels plays, right? If Daniels is healthy and he's a go, give me the Commanders. If he isn't a go, and if he's inactive and he's out for that one, give me the Raiders to win this one.
Breland.
Yeah, I'm going to basically side with Sam here on that. But that being said, the Raiders also put up just 9 points last week. So, I'm going to go Commanders 80-20.
80. And I am going to double down on that. The Washington Commanders win this game. Las Vegas Raiders playing on a short week after playing on Monday night. They've got to travel cross country and not only play here in the East, but play at a 1 o'clock game in the East. Geno Smith, 1 touchdown to 4 interceptions thus far. The Washington Commanders win with Marcus Mariota at the quarterback, improving to 2-1 on the year. Lou, 5 seconds. Who wins?
The Commanders win because they give misinformation to Brady and they don't know what's going on.
There we go. You have been watching NFC Beast. Great job, guys. Thank you all very much. Great show.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
Lively show. Lively show.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.